Imagine being 9 months pregnant, 200,000 years ago. No hospital, no painkillers, no doctors, just you, your tribe, and the most dangerous moment of your life. What happened next reveals a crucial, often overlooked, part of human history, because for 300,000 years, women achieved something seemingly impossible, giving birth without any of the tools we consider essential today. No sterile rooms, no medical intervention, no epidurals, and yet somehow, the human species survived. The question isn't just how they did it, but who helped them. Because the archaeological record reveals a profound truth, women never did this alone. Not once in the entire history of our species was birth a solitary event. It was a community affair, and the systems built around it were far more sophisticated than you might imagine. Let's explore what truly unfolded when a woman became pregnant 50,000 years ago. The moment an expectant mother in a hunter-gatherer tribe realized she was pregnant, something fundamental shifted in the entire group's behavior. Researchers studying modern hunter-gatherer societies have meticulously documented this transformation. The pregnant woman didn't become isolated or sidelined, instead, she became the focal point of an intricate support network that anthropologists call cooperative breeding. Other women in the tribe, especially older individuals who had already given birth, immediately began adjusting their roles. They took over more of her physical labor, brought her extra food, and started sharing invaluable knowledge passed down through generations. This wasn't merely charity, it was a critical survival strategy. Human birth is uniquely dangerous compared to other primates. Our babies possess massive heads relative to our pelvic openings, a consequence of walking upright and evolving large brains. The mortality rate for both mother and child was staggering. Estimates suggest that without any intervention, roughly 1 in 3 women died in childbirth throughout human history. To combat this terrifying reality, tribes developed something remarkable, a specialized role that predates agriculture, civilization, and almost everything we consider modern, the role of the midwife. We have compelling proof of this role's ancient origins. In 2014, researchers analyzing Neanderthal remains found evidence of skeletal injuries consistent with someone who spent years kneeling and supporting laboring women. These weren't just helpful bystanders, they were specialists, women who had witnessed dozens of births, who knew techniques for turning breech babies, understood which plants reduced bleeding, and which positions facilitated an easier delivery. They were the first medical professionals in human history. What's truly fascinating is how they managed labor itself. When a woman went into labor, the tribe didn't panic, they had been preparing for weeks. A specific location had already been chosen, usually away from the main camp but close enough for safety. This spot would have soft ground, access to water, and natural shelter. Archaeological sites across Africa and Europe show evidence of these birthing areas, small clearings with unusual concentrations of tools and burned plant remains. The laboring woman was almost never left with just one person. Typically, 3 to 5 women surrounded her, each with a specific role. One midwife managed the actual delivery, checking dilation and position. Another supported the woman physically, letting her lean back or squat while holding her weight. A third prepared warm water, medicinal plants, and tools. Others kept a fire going and watched for predators, because labor could take hours, or even days, and the sounds attracted attention. The woman almost never laid on her back, that's a modern hospital invention. Instead, she squatted, kneeled, or stood, utilizing gravity to assist the baby's descent. The midwife used her hands to feel the baby's position, guide the head, and prevent tearing. If something went wrong, if the baby was breech or the cord wrapped around its neck, these women possessed techniques. Archaeological evidence and modern hunter-gatherer studies show they knew how to reach inside and turn a baby, how to cut and tie umbilical cords with stone tools, and how to apply pressure to stop hemorrhaging. These weren't guesses, this was refined knowledge passed from generation to generation. When the baby finally emerged, the next critical phase began. The infant was immediately placed on the mother's chest, skin to skin, exactly as hospitals recommend today. But the ancient practice went further. The placenta was delivered and carefully examined, because experienced midwives knew a retained placenta could be fatal. The umbilical cord wasn't cut immediately, they waited for it to stop pulsing, allowing all the blood to transfer to the baby. Modern medicine rediscovered this as delayed cord clamping in the 1990s, ancient midwives knew it 50,000 years ago. Then came the recovery period, and this is where the community structure became even more critical. The new mother didn't return to normal work for weeks, sometimes months. Other women in the tribe brought her food, helped her nurse, and cared for her older children. This wasn't optional, it was embedded in the social contract. Anthropologists studying the Hadza people in Tanzania and the Kung people in the Kalahari found that women who received this support had significantly higher survival rates for both themselves and their babies. The tribe also had protocols for when things went wrong. If a baby was born with severe deformities or wasn't breathing, the midwife made quick decisions. Some infants could be revived with techniques like clearing airways and stimulating breathing. Others couldn't, and in those tragic cases, the tribe had mourning rituals. Burial sites from 100,000 years ago show infant remains buried with care and ceremony, proof that even failed births were treated with reverence. But here's the part that truly changes how you think about modern maternity care: these ancient systems had something most hospitals today have lost: continuous emotional support. A 2017 study published in the journal Birth analyzed the outcomes of over 15,000 births and found that women who had continuous support from another woman during labor had 25% shorter labors, were less likely to need interventions, and reported significantly higher satisfaction. The researchers noted this effect was strongest when the support person was experienced but not medically trained, precisely like ancient midwives. Modern hospitals, with all their technology and expertise, often isolate women during labor. They are attended by rotating staff who don't know them, in sterile rooms, often without family present. The ancient model was the opposite. Women were surrounded by people they trusted, in familiar places, supported by specialists who had known them their entire lives. And the outcomes, when birth progressed normally, were remarkably good. Studies of modern hunter-gatherer groups show that when labor progresses without complications, maternal and infant mortality rates are comparable to industrial nations. The high historical mortality rates came from complicated births, infections, and hemorrhaging, situations where modern medicine makes a massive difference. But for the vast majority of normal births, the ancient system worked. It worked because it was built on 300,000 years of accumulated knowledge, passed from woman to woman, refined through trial and error across thousands of generations. That knowledge included things we're only now rediscovering scientifically. The use of certain plants to induce labor or reduce pain. Researchers have identified over 50 plant species used by indigenous cultures for childbirth that contain compounds with real pharmacological effects. The importance of movement and position during labor. Modern studies confirm that upright positions reduce labor time and pain. The critical role of emotional support, now called doula care in a modern context, is proven to improve outcomes. Ancient humans figured all of this out without laboratories or clinical trials. They figured it out because birth happened constantly, and the tribes that developed better systems had more surviving children. Evolution didn't just shape our bodies for birth, it shaped our social structures around it. And here's the part that answers why half of human history is missing. Women's knowledge systems, including midwifery, were primarily oral traditions. They weren't written down until civilizations developed writing, and even then, they were rarely recorded because they were considered women's domain. The vast majority of human birth knowledge existed in the minds of midwives, passed through demonstration and apprenticeship. When colonization and industrialization disrupted indigenous cultures, much of that knowledge disappeared within a generation or two. We lost tens of thousands of years of refined expertise, but fragments remain. In 2019, anthropologists working with the AKA people in Central Africa documented birth practices that likely stretch back to our common ancestors. The Aka midwives still use techniques, positioning, plant medicines, and support structures that mirror archaeological evidence from sites 40,000 years old. They represent an unbroken chain of knowledge spanning the entire history of our species. So, when you're 9 months pregnant in a modern hospital, surrounded by monitors and medical staff, remember this: your body is designed for a process that worked for 300,000 years without any of that technology. Your ancestors survived the most dangerous moment of their lives not because they were tougher or different, but because they were never alone. They built communities that caught them when they were most vulnerable. And those communities created the first specialized knowledge systems in human history. The missing half isn't truly gone. It lives in every culture that still honors the role of midwives, in every woman who supports another through labor, and in every tradition that treats birth as a communal responsibility rather than solely a medical procedure. It is a testament to the enduring power of human connection and ancient wisdom that continues to shape our understanding of birth, even after 200,000 years.